Twigamala, Chris Radlinski and Martin Offiah, Henry Paul and Sean Edwards the captain. The forwards, Neil Cowie, Martin Hall and Terry O'Connor, Scott Quinnell, Mick Cassidy and Simon Horton at the back of the scrum. On the bench it's Rob Smythe, Martin Dermott, Andrew Craig and Andrew Johnson, and the coach is Graham West, who has won every competition that he's entered since he took over the reins here 2 years ago. Now the Bradford side, Nathan Graham at full-back, Gerald Cordwell, Gary Christie, Carlos Hassan and Paul Cook, Neil Summers and Robbie Paul. In the forwards they've had to make a late change. Andy Ireland, Bernard Dwyer moves to hooker, Jason Donoghue has the flu, Carl Furbank, Jeremy Doniger, Sonny Nicol and Simon Knox comes in at loose forward off the bench. On the substitutes bench it's David Longo, Paul Medley, Phil Helliwell plays his first game of the season and Brian McDermott, and their coach is Brian Smith. The match referee tonight is Colin Morris, who has control of this Stones Bidder Championship match, Centenary Championship, Wigan against Bradford, and Wigan will win the trophy and keep it here at Central Park for all time if they get at least a point tonight. Paul Cook starts us off. A misty evening here at Central Park, but thankfully the fog has lifted and the conditions underfoot absolutely perfect. That's Scott Quinnell, and it takes 3 to hold Scott Quinnell. Now Mick Cassidy, champions-elect Wigan, with the Regal Trophy safely retained. They're in line for a 4-day trophy double. 3 tackles gone. Terry O'Connor plays the ball to Martin Hall, who makes good yards down the middle. He gets Wigan to the halfway line.
Tremendous
O'Connor in at dummy half.
Tremendous run from the hooker there, Martin Hall. He's had a great season. And another searching kick there by Sean Edwards. Wanted to keep it in play, but just ran out into touch. Either way, with this strong Wigan defence, they'll be happy to try to apply the pressure and hope that Bradford come up with a mistake.
Remarkable record for Sean Edwards, the most decorated man in the game. This will be medal number 39 tonight if Wigan get the point that they need. Bradford, though, they are determined to be party poopers, and that's Carlos Hassan. From a horizontal position, he managed to play the ball, and that's Simon Knox. Good tackling, though, by Twigamala and Henry Paul. And Twigamala, again, very busy at the marker position.
It was a rather subdued dressing room in the Wigan camp. Unusual, to say the least. They realise that they only need 1 point from tonight's match to wrap up that championship trophy for good. They'll keep the silverware on the sideboard. But they were very nervous before this game. They take nothing for granted, do this Wigan outfit.
Lovely take by Martin Offiah on the far side, and he comes inside to try and beat Robbie Paul. Can't do so, and Doniger comes in with the tackle.
You can see the eyes on the football all the time. Put the arms up in the air to embrace the ball into his chest. Copybook stuff.
Well, it is quite a subdued atmosphere at Central Park, considering that the championship trophy will be presented tonight. Wigan realise they have a job to do against this Bradford Bulls outfit. Joe Lydon telling us before the match that he realises they are a very, very good side, the Bulls, and they want no slip-ups. Henry Paul grounded on the halfway line by his opposite number, Neil Summers. That's Jason Robinson. He ran straight into the chest of Furbank, and the referee says that's a penalty to Wigan.
Now, did Fairbank move? That is a big question. According to the referee, he did. Yep. You could see there, he took half a step and put the charge in with the shoulder, took him out. Now, if Fairbank would have stayed still, and he didn't, you can see clearly there on the replay. And Jason Robinson caught it fair and square in the middle of the chest. Not too impressed, Carl Fairbank.
And perhaps significantly, Wigan deciding not to elect for the kick at goal. They've got instead to run this penalty with Cowie and now Hall, and here's Henry Paul and Terry O'Connor. 1 winner's medal safely in the O'Connor sideboard already, his first one after the Regal on Saturday. Edwards switches the direction of the attack. That was Paul. He got the ball inside to Scott Quinnell. Good tackling by Andy Ireland. Now Mick Cassidy takes it up again for Wigan. They get to within 4 metres of the line. Robbie Paul and Jeremy Doniger the tacklers. Paul, quick hands to Edwards, and Edwards looks over the far side, big gap of fire is out there, but the kick just too strong.
Not happy with it, Sean Edwards, the perfectionist at the game of rugby league football. Martin Offiah had no chance for that.
Graham West, the Wigan coach. Robbie Paul feeds at the scrum, gets the possession, of course, finds Neil Summers. Let's get downstairs, talk to one of those subdued Wiganers, or is he? Martin Dermott's with Bill.
Martin, there does seem to be a bit of a subdued atmosphere around the park at the moment.
I don't see why. You know, it's a big game tonight. You know, we've got to win this to get the championship. It's the biggest game of the season as the Wigan players are concerned. They've come up tonight and everybody's fired up. But it's going to be an hell of a battle tonight.
I know you've been there plenty of times before. Any nerves on an occasion like this?
Oh yeah, you always get the odd big match nerves. It is good for you, but especially against Bradford, they have got a big, powerful pack. We've just got to play the sets of six and play an intelligent game tonight.
They haven't got anything to lose, have they, Bradford?
No, they've come out tonight, and I think all guns blazing. Like you say, they have nothing to lose, but we've everything to gain tonight. We need 1 point, and we've got to set a platform with the forwards tonight.
Thanks, Martin.
Cheers, Bill.
Jason Robinson is tackled by Bernard Dwyer, playing tonight at hooker for the Bradford Bulls. It's his 4th appearance and his 3rd change of position since his move from St Helens.
No stranger to that spot, though. Many years with the St Helens club as the number 9.
Here's his opposite number, Martin Hall. Terry O'Connor, that was a ball with a big red cross on it. Dear me, what a collision between O'Connor and Ireland.
And Ireland came well on top there. Oh, put his shoulder well and truly into it. He felt it, did the Wigan prop.
High hanging kick from Sean Edwards. Underneath it is Twigamala of Fairbank, was standing round, and Twigamala gets the first try. It's a gift. The high kick from Edwards. Nobody on the Bradford Bulls side wanted it, and they presented it as a gift to Twigamala.
It happens so many times. The defending side do not want to take a risk of knocking on. It was a high kick from Edwards, and so many sides do this. Look, they just hang around and say, leave it. He takes it on the half volley, and the big fella just steps on the inside. Gerald Caudle was just left, dancing around with thin air. Hang around when this guy is going on the move. Look at the step there. For such a big man, the balance is superb. In and out. But you can't afford to do this. It wasn't the best kick from Edwards, and he knows it. But by the same token, Bradford should really have taken for that. On the half volley, look at that step. In and out. Gerald Caudle couldn't believe it.
7 minutes gone, and Vainga Twigamala gets the Wigan Roadshow underway. Henry Paul with the conversion attempt. The flags tell you there was no problems for Paul. And Wigan 6, Bradford 0. Great try from Twigamala. Took the ball on the half volley, and once he got it in his arms, there was no stopping him. Radlinski with the kick-off. Wigan ahead 6-0. This is young Robbie Paul. Good tackling back by Cassidy. Summers at dummy half, and now Doniger again. His Australian colleague Graham Bradley is out injured tonight. Robbie Paul again, another high kick. Connolly is there, and he takes it cleanly this time under pressure from Ireland.
Did well there. You could see him lift the right leg just to protect his body. The oncoming traffic. Got it right that occasion. Made a real meal of the last time that the ball was kicked high to him.
Well, Bradford into this match with defeats in 5 of the last 6 behind them, and you know they haven't won in the league here since 1988. So it's a big ask of them to put that champagne on ice again. And Wigan ahead 6-0, just coming up to 20 minutes gone.
Well, the defence is pretty solid at the moment from Bradford. Well, that's a bit scrappy on Paul. Crowd wanting the flop there from Carlos Hassan.
Lovely kick over the top from Edwards. And well watched by Carl Fairbank, the referee.
Well, it was being interfered with by Edwards there. Carl Fairbank was definitely pulled back.
And the referee is just, I think, wanting to have a look at Gary Connolly. And he might be on his way to the blood bin, Gary Connolly. He got a nasty wound in the Regal Trophy final on Saturday. And perhaps it's opened up again.
I think it was 5 stitches inside and 5 stitches on the outside. Not surprising that it would have split open.
So it's up in substitution, and Rob Smythe comes on for Gary Connolly.
Well, Bradford can only be building in confidence now. Their defence has held very strong for the last 15 minutes. And the way that Andy Ireland is getting over that vantage line, they could very well post a try very soon.
Little dink over the top from Simon Knox. That's great play. Paul is there, and there's the try. Steve-O called it, and Bradford scored it. And Robbie Paul, he gets the 4-pointer that will surely, after the kick, level the scores.
Tremendous play from Bradford. You could see that the Wigan defence just held off, and it was a strong run from Ireland, and then the prop forward dinked over the top. Good work. Super stuff. Beautiful play there. Knox sends the ball back on the inside. Summers out wide, but he could see there was no sweeper there. Good play from the loose forward, Simon Knox. And at last, the support plays there. Superb backup from Robbie Paul. But they were caught there. Remember, Gary Connolly had just gone off. I'm afraid they lost their way, Wigan, in the defence. Robinson had come back to cover, but it was too late. This is individual skills. Superb. Got the nice bounce. He knew that the support was there. That meant that Robbie Paul would have called.
So Robbie Paul, leading scorer, his 8th of the season for Bradford. And Paul Cook now with this conversion attempt. The scores will surely be level. And level they are. Wigan 6, Bradford Bulls 6.
Look at the enormous area that he's got there. And I can assure you that does not happen all that often. You can see that Robinson had gone in a very deep position. There was no sweeper. Obviously confusion in the fact that Gary Connolly has gone off. Either way, that man's smiling. Bradford well and truly back in this game.
So Paul Cook restarts. Bradford the scoring side, 6-all, and the word lethargic comes into mind for this Wigan team tonight. Ahead 6-0, and no sign of Gary Connolly just yet. A very sore mouth by the looks of things, Connolly.
Well, that cotton wool wad that you saw in the mouth, probably full of antiseptic to make sure that it's trying to help heal that wound, trying to close it at least. Wigan realise that they need a man of his quality out there. It was a pretty hectic game that they had on Saturday. St Helens really took it to them.
Lovely kick over the top again from Edwards. Twiggamala's after it. He feeds Smythe, and Smythe replies for Wigan. Edwards and Twiggamala linking up again with a kick through, and Twiggamala first to react, and Rob Smythe, 6th try of the season for the 18-year-old, the man who's in the academy squad to face France at Salford at the end of this month. But what a kick from Sean Edwards that set it all up.
Anything that Bradford can do, Sean Edwards says, let's get on with it. He can see on this occasion, Bradford have no sweeper. And Nathan Graham was slow there, but good pass out wide. And Rob Smythe gleefully accepts the 4 points. just onside there. Twigamala made sure that he held back. Now, was this a bit forward? Tell you what, I've seen them pull back time and time again in the past, but not on this occasion. I just have a tendency to think that they may be a fraction forward on that one, but he's not worrying. Substitute Rob Smythe, one of the many youngsters coming through that conveyor belt here at Central Park.
And so Henry Paul can now attempt the conversion for the New Zealand international. 16 points in the Regal Trophy final, ever present. A man who's one of the best game breakers in the business, according to his coach. And he doesn't kick a bad ball either. Bradford hit back and Wigan respond 12-6.
Well, it's pretty close. I'll leave it up to you, but that looked just a touch forward. Not much in it. Let's not criticise the referee, Colin Morris. He was in a good position. In fact, he was well and truly up with the play. So perhaps he was in line with it. He thought it was okay.
Nathan Graham is tackled by Radlinski. Nicol. Bernard Dwyer. And he gets the ball out wide. Trevor Knox been working hard tonight, produced the try for Bradford. And here's Furbank. Bounces off the shoulder of Hall. He stops him temporarily, and Mick Cassidy and Neil Cowie finish the job off. And they're shouting for forward now for the terraces for that pass, but it wasn't. And this is Caudle. Oh, Caudle drops it. He surrenders the pass, and the ball rather to Martin Offiah.
He tried to keep it alive there in heavy traffic. Good tackle by Robbie Paul. Tried to swing the ball behind him.
Credit Bradford, though, they're making a game of this. They're not here to lie down and die and allow Wigan to take the championship with any great ease.
Well, Bradford front row are working very hard. Ireland, Dwyer and Fairbank, they're going down that middle. They're causing a lot of problems to this Wigan defence.
That could have been a flop from Donegal, but Colin Morris says no.
How do you mean could have been? It was.
But it wasn't. The referee hasn't blown. Now he has for the knock-on.
Well, the prop forward couldn't get that away. This is a flop from the Australian. Well, it was pretty late. Crowd didn't like it. Didn't impress Colin Morris. He said get on with it.
The scrum goes down on halfway. Summers. Tackling by Twigamala and Paul. Two of the outstanding members of this Wigan side, those two. And Sonny Nicol, always a battle against Wigan. He loves it. Donegal.
You see the Wigan defence moving up exceptionally quickly. Out wide, the centres.
Bernard Dwyer, that's a lovely run from dummy half from the Bradford hooker. He's done that over the years so many times for St Helens. Robbie Paul, this is out one and finds Summers. And this is Carlos Hassan. And Robinson cracked him down. Last tackle, they're banging in front of the sticks. Robbie Paul again, and Edwards wrapping him all up. No opportunity to either release the ball or force the try.
Like a limp at mine there. Sean Edwards said, come here. Bang. There was never any chance that Robbie Paul was going to get anywhere near and getting that ball down. Good scrambling defence. But good approach work by Bradford. Led once again by the front rower, Bernard Dwyer. They're working hard. And Wigan will have to lift their game.
Martin Hall to Edwards. The call was from Twigamala. And he gets the pass back to Henry Paul. Henry Paul making brilliant yards, a clip over the top. Caudle's after it though, and Caudle does well. Put his body between the onrushing Paul and the ball and swept up the danger. And here goes Nathan Graham.
Good run from the full-back, but good work from Caudle there. You can see Caudle was the only one running back. In fact, the nearest man to him was the referee, Colin Morris. Looks fit, does Colin, doesn't he?
Well, he's back now, marching Wigan back the 10 metres of that play the ball. They've got to be fit these days, the referees, to keep up with the hectic pace of this game. They've got to be as fit as the players. This is Robbie Paul again. And now Carlos Hassan. Little jinking run from Hassan. Nowhere for him to go. And under pressure like that, Quinnell and Smythe.
Good cover defence there from the second rower, Scott Quinnell. He's a big boy, but he gets around the paddock. He really does try hard. He's come on a bundle this season. Taking a while to settle into the game of rugby league.
And taking a breather now, Scott Quinnell. He's replaced by number 15 there, Martin Dermott. A call from Dermott to Terry O'Connor, who had to take the tackle in the end. Cowie. Good tackle, Doniger, helped out by Burbank. Hall the dummy half. Edwards. Dancing little run from Edwards. He finds Cassidy in space. Cassidy makes it 10 metres into the Bradford half of the field. There's Martin Dermott. Now Edwards. Now Hall. Whoops. Went round in a circle. Martin Hall did 360 degrees and gave it to Dwyer.
He just lost his bearings there, didn't he? He was looking for the inside runner. It was there. Martin Dermott.
Simon Knox. Bradford then back in possession. And credit Bradford. They're making a good fist of this in the first half. Nathan Graham.
Well, they're making inroads because they're playing this ball very quickly. And on the ball tonight, even though they're 6 points adrift, they've had plenty of opportunities.
Neil Summers. Long ball into the arms of Fairbank. Another long ball off Knox's fingertips. That was Gary Christie who maintained the possession for Bradford, and Caudle dabs it through, and Robinson has to just hammer it dead in the in-goal area. Maybe Caudle might have done better, Steve-O, to pick up.
Perhaps he should have gone on for possession here. He knew that Robinson was in front of him, so Robinson had the shorter distance. It's always safe. Either way, Robinson has made sure that the ball will be dropped out from underneath the sticks. So Bradford will get possession on this one, but good work from Gerald Caudle. It shows you all about the second effort. Can repay you, and it did.
Awkward bouncing ball for Nathan Graham to pick up. Well, surrounded by cherry and white hoops.
There again we see Nathan Graham standing far too close to the kickoff. He should have been well back into his own half. It's better to run onto a football and turn around and chase it. Just elementary mistakes that they make like that can make it so difficult for your side.
Well done, Summers. He picked that ball up off his bootlaces. Robbie Paul is tackled and wrestled to the ground by Edwards. Now here's Knox. Quick hands from Christie and Caudle.
Playing well, Caudle is a hard man to handle. He's pretty strong, and look at that quick play of the ball.
Christie, he gets the try.
Double movement.
Well, he was lying on his back, he thought, and he put the ball down.
Was he bounced? Well, the arm that's carrying the football, that should be a try, and he's given it, surely. No, he hasn't.
No.
Well, I thought the arm carrying the football was the one that hit the ground, and it wasn't. And he was still moving. That should be a try. It does not touch the ground, and it's still moving, so I would have given that a try.
Well, Bradford robbed of a try, the second of this first half. The momentum hadn't stopped, Steve-O. The ball didn't touch the ground, neither did the arm carrying it. That should have been a try.
Well, we have these guys in the in-goal area. That's all part and parcel of it.
And they're putting pressure on this Wigan outfit. Hassan and Cook is the dummy half. And Fairbank. Well, yes, there are 5 officials out there, and between them they got that wrong.
Well, you can't blame the guy at the other end, Eddie.
Maybe not. This is Robbie Paul again.
Well, he's got to get Sean Edwards that time, because he let him off for the first time. He said there was no intent on the first one. He went pretty high. But it was a lazy right arm that went on the cross, and it caught Robbie Paul there. And a few words being said to Shaun Edwards, Colin Morris. Shaun Edwards not happy with the way things are happening. It's not going the way that he'd like it to, even though they've got a 6-point lead. He knows that they are in for a big struggle tonight. He knows that Bradford are making inroads, especially down the middle.
So Robbie Paul receiving treatment, and Graham West not happy with what he's seeing at the moment. Well, Robbie Paul is just taking the time to have a word.
Well, even though he's having treatment, Robbie Paul is set to Bernard Dwyer there. Will take the 2 points. Are they going to tap? They're a little bit confused. It looks like Bernard Dwyer's overruled him.
They take the tap, and Paul Cook finds Doniger. Well, I'm not so sure that they've taken the right option here. Of course, if they get over for 4, they'll be proved to be right, but surely at 12-6, 2 points would have been valuable.
Well, I can't understand that. Robbie Paul was saying and pointing, let's take the 2 points, and Bernard Dwyer overruled him. Let's hope they get the 4 points.
Well, they're close now with Nicol. Connolly is back on from the blood bin, you may have noticed. Oh, Bernard Dwyer surrenders possession. Well, the gambles failed.
Deary me. Well, it's very rare you see the experienced Bernard Dwyer make a mistake like that, and Sonny Nicol was far from impressed. He's fired up. He's got involved in 2 tackles. He'll be kicking himself, will Bernard Dwyer. Great opportunity lost.
Martin Offiah, 25 tries this season and running backwards at the moment. Offiah. Crowd unhappy with that challenge. Andy Ireland, but the referee says play on.
He'd committed himself with a big prop forward, Ireland. Can't stop yourself mid-air.
Last one for Wigan, and Edwards just kicks downfield straight into the arms of Nathan Graham. Did that go backwards? The referee says it didn't. It went forwards, but I'm not so sure.
Well, it did go backwards, didn't it? A few referees would have let that play on. But either way, I'm afraid that Nathan Graham is having a nightmare. Now, the 3rd occasion in this first half where he has not taken the ball cleanly. The talented player, he knows he can produce better than that.
Twigamala, they were thinking of the run around, and Twigamala took things into his own hands, feeds the ball out wide to Edwards, who draws Offiah back on his inside, and Offiah says thanks very much. That'll be 26 for the season for me, and my first try since December. Offiah with the try, and Bradford, they might have been level. As it is, they're falling further behind.
Beautiful dummy on the run around here. Edwards around the big fella there, and he just sets off. And you can see that Nathan Graham did not commit himself to it. He was waiting to see what occurred. Beautiful pass. Edwards on the inside. He delayed the pass just in time to suck in Neil Summers. You can't just hang around there like that. You've got to commit yourself and make sure you put the man down. Even if it does pass the football, at least you've done your job. And there you see, not one Wigan player has been put to ground, and you can't expect to top them like that. You cannot hesitate and stop. Graham should have gone and committed himself to the big fella Twigamala, irrespective of whether he passed the ball or not. The result is a try to Martin Offiah, his first in 96. Superb timing. He knows that Summers has committed himself on the inside.
Martin Offiah, he once got 5 tries against Bradford in a 1992 Cup semi-final at Bolton Wanderers ground. Got 1 tonight. Henry Paul with the kick. Terrific kicking from Henry Paul. 18 points to 6. Champions elect.
There he is circled. Nathan Graham is actually stopped there, waiting to see what's going to happen. you don't stop, you go and commit yourself. And when he finally turns round, he finds that he's a yard too short of making any attempt at the tackle. And look at the timing of this pass. Make sure that Summers is committed. Martin fired in for number 26.
18-6 then, we're approaching half-time. And how cruel can this game be? They had the chance at the other end, Bradford. It was a fair try that was wiped out by the referee, Colin Morris. And within minutes, they're 18-6 down. Should have been 12 all.
Surely should have been. At least 12-8 anyway. Perhaps they should have elected to take the 2 points and off. It was virtually in front of the sticks. I'm sure that the ability of Paul Cook would have made sure that they got those 2 points. Now they find themselves adrift to 18-6.
Summers with the kick downfield. Wigan will have to run it back. Gary Connolly, his first touch since he's come out of the blood bin. Escapes the clutches of Dwyer and Nicol.
This is where Bradford's defence has to be solid. Wigan do counter-attack from their own quarter after the kick. They're not frightened of keeping this ball alive, especially just before half-time.
Dermott, the dummy half on halfway. Edwards. Horton had overrun it. Henry Paul hadn't. Caudle comes in and finishes him off right on the stroke of half-time. A half that Wigan have taken 18 points to 6. Swigamala has scored one and created one. And Robbie Paul, he has tried very hard for the Bradford Bulls, and they will point, I think, to the fact that they've had a try disallowed. But Henry Paul is the man who is perhaps smiling in the Kiwis family at the moment. Wigan have got one hand on that championship trophy, and Sean Edwards knows that he might be on his way, courtesy of the fired try, to medal number 39. Wigan ahead by 18 points to 6, and the Bradford Bulls with it all to do in this second half to stop Wigan recording their 8th championship success in 10 years.
Well, I'm sure that the Bradford coach, Brian Smith, would have told them they've made the breaks in the first half and they are susceptible. They've got to throw everything at them now. An early try, and that really would set them back on for what could be a shock win.
Well, Gary Connolly has gone off and Rob Smythe has come on. Smythe, the 18-year-old, certainly one for the future, as Donegal takes the ball up again for the Bradford Bulls. 3 men meet him, it's the last tackle. Long pass over the top into the arms of Summers. Summers out wide, with a dab down the touchline by Paul Cook. Oh, and Henry Paul comes up with a big mistake. He made a right meal of that, and Paul is anything but impressed by the decision of the referee, Colin Morris.
Well, I can't believe that. Henry Paul has to really get on with the game. OK, he disagrees with it, but he's a very lucky boy. He could be sin binned there. The first knock on was only a little one, but it certainly went forward.
So Bradford with the possession from the scrum, and this is Carlos Hassan, and Henry Paul the man doing the tackling, and that was almost a kick forward at the play the ball by Hassan, but this now is Christie. Knox gets the ball out to Christie, and Christie will score. Well, what a start to this second half for the Bradford Bulls. Knox with a brilliant pass off the ball, and Gary Christie, his 6th try of the season.
Once again, the forwards have laid the platform. Andy Ireland, good run across, keeps the ball alive. And the loose forward, Simon Knox, who's having a wow of a game. What a great pass. Not the best attempt, though, from Jason Robinson. He didn't put the shoulder to the work then. But Andy Ireland, he's having a top game, but none better than this man. Superb there. You could see a fire had come in, but Robinson didn't follow through with the shoulder. Let's not take anything away from Gary Christie, But good work by the prop forward. Loose forward gets round the man. And that is a fine try. Bradford are back in it.
Gary Christie's effort. Well pleased with the start that he and the Bulls have made to this second half. He's cut the arrears. And a chance here now for Paul Cook to add the extras. And that's on the way. And oh, it's off the top of the bar and over. Well, how about that? 18 points to 12. Well, what a start to this second half for the Bradford Bulls. They snap back immediately and come up with the try. Wigan know they are in a contest.
Well, it's all about taking your chances, and they certainly did there. It was Henry Paul, the Wigan standoff, that made the mistake. The knock-on allowed Bradford the possession. Well, Wigan really do have to roll the sleeves up. Their forwards have not been working as hard as what the Central Park crowd fully expect. And I'm sure that their coach, Graham West, will have plenty to say to them. The message will be sent out.
Edwards, and he finds Cassidy. Cassidy runs into the brick wall that is Andy Ireland and Jeremy Doniger. Robinson, the dummy half. Robinson taking matters into his own hands. Dermott to Edwards again. Edwards in this second half with his right arm heavily bandaged. Nathan Graham gingerly picks that ball up off his own try line, remembering the horrors he went through, no doubt, in the first half.
What a tremendous kick again from Sean Edwards. Comes out here on the Central Park ground for hours on end. He knows every blade of grass there. Just puts it on a sixpence, doesn't he?
So does David Longo has come on, and Robbie Paul has gone off for the Bradford Bulls. Meanwhile, Doniger takes it up again for the Bulls, met by 3. I hear it's concussion for the 19-year-old Kiwi Robbie Paul. Last tackle for the Bradford Bulls, and they're just inside, or rather outside their own quarter line. There's a good kick though downfield from Neil Summers. Great kick to turn Wigan round.
Plenty of experience, but surprisingly, Neil Summers went on the blind side and no one applied any pressure to him at all. And the Wigan marker's very tired and not working hard. Neil Summers, he knows that there's the sniff of a chance here. 6 points adrift. They've got Wigan rattled at the moment.
Simon Horton takes the ball out of the back of the scrum. Twigamala, the dummy half. Henry Paul turns it back to Twigamala, who'd maintained the run. And he has got Smythe outside him. And Rob Smythe cuts in for his second try. Twigamala's had a hand in another. He's playing an important part, the big Kiwi, in the Wigan Championship celebrations, but so too is young Rob Smythe, his second try of the night.
Strike from deep, beautiful pass, and look at the big man move out, and Smythe did the right thing. He kept outside the man. Twigamala did the rest for him to set him free. Good finisher, Rob Smythe, turning out to be a super sub for Wigan. But beautiful position there. Henry Paul sent the big fella away, who in turn sent young Rob Smythe in for a try. How many times do we see Wigan strike back from deep within their own territory? Nice switch round there from Henry Paul. See that Paul Cook has been sucked in to try to tackle the big centre Twigamala. Good stuff.
Rob Smythe, what a night he is having here at Central Park. 2 tries as the super sub for Wigan. And Henry Paul, 100% on the goal-kicking standard for Wigan tonight. This time, though, he misses. 22-12, the gap now 10 points.
See how the centre is sucked into Henry Paul, and Twigamala coming from the middle, running on the arc, makes the break. Super pass out wide. Perfect timing, and what great finishing.
Second time this season that Rob Smythe has picked up 2 tries in a match. First time at Widnes in the Regal Trophy, in the game that went into extra time. Burbank with the drive, a fire with the tackle, a fire after Bernard Dwyer again. This is David Longo, and Radlinski the man who brings him down.
Well, the crowd having a little bit of fun there with Martin Fayed, who got through 3 consecutive tackles.
Bernard Dwyer again, gets the pass away to Nicol. He in turn finds Ireland. Ireland having to arc his way back into centre field and gets tackled by Radlinski and Paul. Dwyer to Longo, who stabs it with the instep, but stabs it with the instep out.
Could be happy with that, the substitute Longo. Nice kick downfield. But once again, good approach work from the Bradford forwards, especially Andy Ireland. He's getting through a ton of work. David Longo.
Well, it's interesting, Steve, that Longo is ex-Dewsbury and Nathan Graham is ex-Dewsbury, and Dewsbury languishing this season at the foot of the First Division. Here they are, though, 2 of their former stars in the big league. Perhaps that's a clue why your old club is struggling.
No comment.
Here's a clue why Wigan are on the way to the championship. Twigamala tonight has been magnificent.
So strong, isn't it? But it's a way that Wigan just bounce back. It looks as though you've got them going in a backward direction. They look tired at times, and then bang. Deep from within their own territory, they sparkle.
And that's a good run from Cowie. Halted in the end by Doniger. He didn't play that ball properly, and the referee has called him back for the knock-on, Cowie. I'm not so sure it was a knock-on. I just don't think he played the ball properly. It should be a penalty to Bradford, this.
Well, he never had control of it, did he? Lost it, he was trying to play. Looked at the touch judge, and I can assure you that Sean Edwards had a few words to say to the prop forward Cowie then.
This now is Summers. Robinson and Radlinski force him to the ground. Christie and Simon Knox, tackled by Radlinski again. Certainly Graham West tinkering with Radlinski and putting him to centre and dropping Connolly back to fullback, Steve-O, one of the season's master tactician strokes.
Yes, it's certainly paid off, hasn't he? But he can ring the changes, Graham West. When you've got Henry Paul, he can play standoff, centre, fullback, even played halfback at one point. Shows that the great depth that they have at Wigan.
Little chip over the top from Summers. That's a good kick. And that was a Wigan hand that got to it. I think it was Rob Smythe. And that would be a dropout from underneath the sticks.
Sure was. He's not happy with it, Rob Smythe, but he knew he was under a lot of pressure. He's trying to put his body onto it, but I'm afraid the body went down and the arms didn't collect the football. Not happy with that. A few seconds before, the smile was on his face after scoring the try. Amazing how fortunes can change very quickly.
Henry Paul then with the dropout from under the sticks up to the halfway line. Collected by Nathan Graham. Tries to go through the gap. Cassidy and Hall close it.
Well, Wigan are 10 points in front, but Bradford will not give in. They're still making inroads, especially down the middle. The way that the forwards are getting over that advantage line, there's always a chance for a try.
This is Bernard Dwyer. Brian McDermott, you may have noticed, has come on for the Bradford Bulls. Here, though, is Neil Summers. This is McDermott. Doniger for the post. Held up just short. Bernard Dwyer. Dwyer trying to burrow his way over. Robinson's got a hand in there. That tackle has been called as held. It's the turnover.
Good play by Jason Robinson. Not only just taking the ball out there, but he made sure that Dwyer couldn't get rid of that football.
fire. Radlinski. Robinson, the man in at dummy half.
Well, talk about relying on your three quarters to get you out of trouble. Hasn't been a forward seen yet to take this ball up. That's the first one there.
And here's the second O'Connor, and there's the third Horton. Tackled by Nicol and also Caudle.
Well, it was a swinging arm, but he went for the football. Certainly wasn't on the head.
Edwards to Cassidy, to Paul, juggling. And past his opposite number, Neil Summers. And Paul with a lovely run. Still going, Henry Paul, back one-handed to Edwards. Oh, brilliant! Cowie, try! Great try from Neil Cowie. Set up this time by Henry Paul. Graham West called him a game breaker after the final on Saturday, and he's just broken the hearts of Bradford.
Neil Summers took the gamble. He went up very quickly out of the one line of defence, and once this guy gets away, so he loses. The balance on this man is absolutely remarkable. And Sean Edwards, the man, sends this away. It was a pretty high one as well. He caught one for his corner, but when you move up like that out of the line, you've got to make sure of the tackle. And Summers failed to do that. Look at the balance there, the step, the wriggle, the body swerve, and then the back pass. Oh, that is absolutely wonderful stuff. What a way to finish. Edwards, long ball out wide. But look at the skills on this man. Shows him the football, acceleration, the step, then the swerve, oh, off the dummy. And look at the pass back on the inside. Determination from Cowie. Nothing was going to stop him.
His first try in quite a while, since September. For Neil Cowie, his fourth of the season. But what a player Henry Paul is. Misses with the kick though, but with play like that has people on their feet, who needs him to kick? 26-12.
When you put yourself out there, you go forward quickly. You've got to make sure of the man. Summers failed to do it. Step, little swerve. Look at the balance. The dummy. The way that he can... Oh, that. I could watch that all night. Look at the determination. He really caught one there. Cowie wouldn't mind though.
Great stuff from Wigan, 26-12. They're getting closer and closer to their 7th championship in a row. Scott Quinnell has come back on for Terry O'Connor. Graham West wisely sharing the work between his forwards and the substitutes. Here's Nicol. They're inching closer to that title. But Bradford have a penalty. Try scorer, now the villain.
Took a long time there, Neil Cowie, to get up. Just had a little bit of a push on the second occasion. And if looks kill, Neil Cowie having a little bit of a stare at this flag waver this side.
This is McDermott taking on Quinnell, releasing the pass to Dwyer. 10 metres out, Dwyer is brought to the ground by Sean Edwards. Longo to Goniger. Goniger. Edwards again coming in over the top to finish him off after Horton had him round the ankles. Christie. It's Simon Knox, I do beg his pardon. And that is David Longo trying to dab it through, but Mick Cassidy was up to the task.
He didn't get the right contact there, the substitute David Longo.
Now Martin of fire. One try already tonight. We haven't seen one of his long-range specials on Sky Sports for a while. Quinnell. Oh, get out the way, Paul Medley.
Came for the second bite of the cherry, Medley there. Well, he's got to give a penalty. We caught Neil Cowie a few seconds ago. There's little doubt about it that second row Sonny Nicol made no attempt to release the man. There's the second attempt from Paul Medley. And there's a guilty person. Sonny Nicol.
Well, he's had a great start to his Bradford Bulls career, Sonny Nicol. But he hasn't taken home winning pay very often. Only once on his debut against Oldham. And I don't think he's going to take winning pay home tonight. I think Wigan now can just about start to pop those champagne corks. Twiggermala again.
Well, it's looking that way, but I know that their coach, Graham West, will be happy that the individual skills from his players out there have got him out of the mire. And it's very ordinary, especially in the forward department.
This fellow is a magician. This is a great try, and so well deserved. Henry Paul. He is 21 years old, and he is rapidly developing as one of the superstars in readiness for the Super League.
I'll go as far to say Henry Paul is probably the best individual footballer I have seen this season. The balance is superb. The speed off the mark is absolutely remarkable. He makes it look easy, but it's all about power in those legs. He just skipped back on the inside. Oh, that is wonderful stuff. Look how the feet, just both together. The handoff there. Simon knocks it to the ground, and then it's full speed again. Another handoff. Such a modest man, loves nothing but rugby league.
4 tries in his last 3 appearances now for Henry Paul. Terrific try. 16 points in the final at the weekend. Ever present this season, this championship season for Wigan. And from bang in front, he turns his 4 into 6. One of the great game breakers of the world, according to Graham West, and who are we to argue?
Well, look, a tired outfit now to this Bradford side. Got in with half a chance. They scored a try. That's what they needed just after the restart. But Wigan, as so often, they just bounce back with so much skill and talent.
Knox. Well, this fellow really has caught the eye tonight. And the ball went backwards. It's play on. Referee Colin Morris is allowing them to go on with it, and now giving the penalty to Bradford after Cassidy held Summers down.
Well, he just stood in his way. There's no way he could get to play the ball, as you can see. Well, he's had a hard game, Mick Cassidy. In fact, he's had a hard season. A good one, though. A tireless worker.
Longo, short ball to Doniger. Bradford trying to get something here. Trailing by 20 points, wanting to cut the deficit. Longo to Paul. Paul Cook. This is Longo again. A little dab through. McDermott gets the 4. It bounced kindly for him. And Longo with a little dab through. And the referee wants a word with the touch judge before he awards this.
I think it's saying, was he offside? Was Brian McDermott in front of the man? And I think you'll find that Brian McDermott was just half a yard in front of the kicker. I don't think he's going to give the try. I think he'll give a penalty to Wigan.
He has. Well, that's why people in the crowd wonder why the touch judges and referees look at each other when a try is given.
You can see he was half a yard in front. It's a nice option, though. Nice little kick through from Longo. They knew exactly what it was all about, but I'm afraid the substitute, Brian McDermott, was just in front. Well, they can see that, but they couldn't see the ball just dropped on the floor when Jason Robinson never even played it.
Andrew Johnson is on for Wigan, number 17. 21 years old, former Academy international, Martin Hall, Welsh international. In fact, the only member of this Wigan side not to be capped at any level is the prop forward Terry O'Connor. But how long will it be before O'Connor is called to international duty somewhere along the line? Dermot, Robinson.
Well, I think there was somewhere in the region of 17 players from this Wigan camp that was involved in the World Cup. This shows you the wonderful depth they have here.
Yes, they have not had a breather, Wigan, whereas some of the others have, perhaps, after the World Cup. A remarkable effort, this, considering as well that Clark, Betts and Botica and Paul Aitchison are gone from last season's championship-winning squad. And they haven't got the big chequebook out, Steve-o. That's the remarkable thing. They've let the youngsters do battle for them whenever they've needed. And hasn't Simon Horton, who just made that tackle there on Knox, hasn't he come on a bundle this year too?
Yep, a great replacement for Betts and Clark in many ways. But the real two heroes in the forwards for me this season for Wigan have been Martin Hall, the hooker, and Mick Cassidy. They really have worked. Simon Horton, as you say, has certainly emerged as a star. And another mistake by Carlos Hassan there. Just is not going right for Bradford at this point in time. And getting back to perhaps Wigan getting out the chequebook, I do believe, and I think they do need two top quality forwards. And I think they'll find them in the off-season.
Dermot and Cowie. Straight down the middle, Cowie, taking on Dwyer. It pops out the back door. Play on. Andrew Johnson. Tackled by Paul Medley. Here's Edwards. Henry Paul again. Quinnell. McDermott with the tackle on him. Martin Dermott, the dummy half. Edwards, another high kick. It's come up trumps a couple of times. Graham's underneath it. He has an awkward style about him, Nathan Graham. That time the ball stuck.
Yeah, he sort of gets in front of the football, doesn't he, and jumps backward. Well, obviously it's his own personal style, but it's created him a few problems over the last couple of games. Pretty hard to change, I suppose. Well, he's quite happy with it, but not too sure that his coach might be.
Medley. Paul Medley, the substitute for Bradford, £110,000 they paid for him in Halifax, from Halifax in 1989. Lucky to get away with that. Brian McDermott, Donegal was the first to react. They almost presented the ball to Shaun Edwards. Summers will hammer the ball downfield. Good kick too. Robinson must pick the ball up, and Carlos Hassan and Paul Cook leading the chase. Smythe now for Wigan. Another of the youngsters coming off this production line. 2 tries tonight.
Good defence from Bradford. It was a good kick from Neil Summers.
Oh, a fire. Putting Martin Dermott under all sorts of pressure with that pass. No wonder the knock-on came.
Well, at 32-12, I suppose you can offer an excuse of some description that Martin Fire would keep that ball alive. We mentioned many times today that Wigan love nothing better than to launch an attack from within their own quarter.
Neil Summers takes his eye off the ball, and on the first tackle, a bad error.
Schoolboy error, but that shows you a mistake of a man who is very tired. Both these sides really have given it their all tonight.
Henry Paul. Taking them all on. Summers making amends with the tackle. Wigan, uncharacteristically, 9 handling errors to the Bulls, 7.
It's amazing, isn't it? When Henry Paul receives the football, the expectation, crowd lifts. He really is a superstar, isn't he?
Johnson. Tackled by Dwyer. Will fire the dummy half to Edwards and Simon Horton. McDermott at acting halfback. And the ball came off Twigamala, so Hassan picks it up. Play on.
Got a bad knock there, I think, by Iga Twigamala. They was calling for the football, wanted to come back on the inside. He made a real meal of it. But I think he collided with one of his own players. He's holding the left arm.
Bongo takes the tackle for Bradford. Dwyer is in at dummy half, and here now is Paul Medley. Runs through Cowie. Can't get through Paul or Horton. Oh, and Simon Knox, little juggling act. Gets a good pass away to Gary Christie. He finds Nathan Graham, who in turn gets it to Neil Summers. Back on the inside is McDermott. He waltzes round Quinnell. He has Cook in support, and Cook will score here. Paul Cook with the try. His 11th try of the campaign. Majority of them 4 leads, of course. But 4 points tonight, very much in the cause of the Bradford Bulls.
Good work. They brought the ball back on the inside. Summers checks back, and the substitute McDermott sets sail. Passed the ball superbly at the right time. Drew Redlinski, nothing that Robinson could do. He's pretty fast, is Paul Cook. It all came about from the wonderful inside pass from Neil Summers. The defence is slipping across. He knows that. Look how you see. It was Quinnell that got caught. Henry Paul and Quinnell both went in the same direction, and that is a great finish. It's all about dragging the defence. Look at that. Easily went through Quinnell's attempt. Superb timing. Runs in the arc. He knows he has the speed. Fine finish.
Well, his 3rd try in the colours of Bradford Bulls since his move from Headingley to Odsal. And Paul Cook enjoys playing at Central Park. He made his England debut for his country here in the World Cup against Fiji. Now he's got the 4 points, and it's Cook's boot that is trying to turn the 4 into 6. Not a bad kicker, is he, Paul Cook? That's why a lot of people raised the eyebrows when Dean Bell allowed him to leave Headingley for Odsal. It's 32-18.
See how the two defenders, they're sliding across, but they're not in one straight line. You can see there, Quinnell just about a yard, 2 yards hanging back, and that's why the gap appeared. It was good thinking, though, from Summers, and a fine finish from Paul Cook.
Yes, terrific try from Cook, just 19 years old. And a man who is someone else we ought to look out for in Super League from the end of March. Steve-O, we've got some great youngsters. The game's in good hands.
In a tremendous season for development of youth. There's plenty out there on show tonight. Wigan always keen, of course, to ensure that they keep an eagle eye out for the youngsters coming through in our game. But all the clubs now, they have in place the junior developments. They know we are going forward in huge strides, not little steps anymore. We've gone through 100 years, and I think we'll make bigger advances now in 10 years than we've ever seen before.
Well, we have seen some great youngsters, and we've mentioned a number of times about Warrington. We saw some great players at Halifax. St Helens have got their fair share of youngsters, and believe me, they've got plenty coming in here at Wigan also.
Let's hope they can develop as good as that fella. A wry smile, Sean Edwards knows history in the making. Not only have they just won the championship, they've actually kept the trophy. The silverware will go nowhere else. It will stay for the rest of its life in the trophy room at Wigan, and as we saw before the game started, it is stacked out with trophies. The World Club Championship, the Challenge Trophy, and that is what it's all about tonight.
Well, the backbone of Wigan's championship season, surely the home form here at Central Park. This is their 30th consecutive home victory. It is quite a record. 30 consecutive wins in the championship since Wakefield won here. Oh, a long, long time ago now. Rigamala makes a meal of it. McDermott picks up. Bradford finishing with a bit of a flourish here. Hassan. Ball has come forward. There's the siren. It's all over. Another championship is in the bag for Wigan. 8 championship winning medals now for Shaun Edwards. 39 winning medals in all. Shaun Edwards, the consummate professional. And what a record for this Wigan team. Henry Paul picks up another winner's medal for Wigan. And what a record their coach Graham West has. He has won every competition that he has ever entered since he took the reins here 2 years ago. Bob Smythe, a man for the future. Superb stuff from Wigan in the end. They win by 32-18 and they are the centenary champions.
You're watching Sky Sports.
Rigamala, Ofaya, Cowie and Henry Paul, who's had a magnificent match, kicking 4 goals as well. And so for the 8th time in his lifetime, Shaun Edwards collects the winning medal as Rugby League champion. This, the centenary championship season, the 17th time in all that the Wigan club have lifted that famous trophy, and the trophy now finds permanent residence in the boardroom here at Central Park. 8 for Edwards, 8 in 10 years for Wigan, 7 in a row. A truly magnificent achievement by this team of all talents. Steve-O, the big question now is who can come and challenge them in the first season of Super League?
Well, they'll all be trying. They have been for the last 10 seasons. But give credit to this outfit. Wigan have trailblazed. They really have shown the way. This is the side that you are looking at now. This is the reason why we are going forward towards the Super League. They have shown the way, not only just on the paddock, but off it too. The administration, their coaching staff, from all over the world. They've always wanted to try to be the best, get the best, and all other clubs now have the slide rule to follow.
Well, there's tremendous celebrations on the field and on the terraces. And Bill Arthur has got one of the stars of the show with him, and his name is Henry Paul.
Henry, I think it was your performance tonight that really livened up what was possibly a bit of a below-par Wigan performance.
Well, you know, it's one of those games that's played on Tuesday night after coming down off sort of like a final, you know. It's like a grand final playing against St Helens. You're exhausted, of course, but no, we just pulled it together again, and wonderful support here tonight. No, it's beautiful.
But Bradford, to be fair, did give you a good contest. It wasn't a formality, was it?
Oh, no, they got some...
Breathe easy.
They got some great players, and my brother especially, he was ripping us apart, you know, at times, but...
Funny he went off with concussion.
Yeah, we got him knocked out early in the game, you know, and he'll be all right. So, no, I'm just so thankful everyone came and supported us tonight.
Well, this means you get to keep the trophy. It stays here forever now. That must mean something to Wigan.
Something very special, you know, and I'm just so grateful, you know, that I was in the team and we won it, and I can look back, you know, in the future. You know, a couple of weeks will probably all be forgotten about, but later on in life, you know, I can look back.
Now you can aim for the Super League.
Yeah, you know, here we go.
Thanks very much indeed. Congratulations.
Yes, here they go for the Super League. Wigan remain the team to beat. And the trophy now goes on its familiar path around this Central Park field on its lap of honour with the Wigan players.
The most amazing thing about it all is that they are not blasé about it. Before this game, they were nervous. They were very subdued. They know that they still had a job to do.
A job to do, and led, of course, by their captain. 39 medals now in the Shaun Edwards cupboard, and he's with Bill.
Shaun, medal number 39. Is it just as exciting when you land another one?
It was probably a little bit of a downer tonight after Saturday because it was a little bit flat tonight in our performance, but I think the number of players we've lost this year, I mean, we've lost a third of our squad, still to be champions is like a fantastic effort from the lads.
Where do you keep all these medals? You don't want to give too much away.
I've got them in a little thing what someone made for me a few years ago.
It must be getting very full though.
It is quite full, yeah, but I hope it gets a bit fuller.
Well, now your thoughts after the Challenge Cup must turn to the Super League.
Yeah, I can't wait. I think Super League is just what the game needed at the moment. The involvement with Sky, it couldn't have come at a better time for the game, and I'm really looking forward to playing this summer, and I can't wait for Super League.
After all you've experienced, does a night like this seem just as exciting?
As I said, it wasn't quite as exciting as some of the other ones that we've won before in the past, because it's been down to the wire worse. This time I sort of expected it.
Well, Sean, congratulations again.
Thank you very much.
39 medals, and he wants more, and he wants more, and more, and more. That's the way, really, that this Wigan team sorts itself out. They enjoy their achievements, but then they look forward to winning more and more and more. Well, one of the young men who no doubt will be winning more in Super League is Rob Smythe. 2 tries tonight.
Rob, these other guys, they've seen it all before. This must be a bit different for you, though.
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, I've come from amateur rugby, and this year I've come through. The rest is giving me a chance, and the players like Sean and Ingram, they've helped me a lot, and I've just got to say thanks to them.
And 2 tries on a night like tonight.
Well, Ingram made them for me, really. I just had to be there at the right time and just finish them off, and hopefully I was there. So
you must have to pinch yourself when you have a few days like this. Regal Trophy success followed by a championship medal.
Well, I didn't really get much of a run out the other day, so I'm really pleased we're getting a run out tonight. And yeah, you do have to pinch yourself about it. So it's just great feeling. Just be with these lads, a great bunch of lads.
Thanks, Rob.
One for the future, Rob Smythe. Neil Cowie, Martin Hall, Welsh internationals, of course. And they deserve their moment, Steve-O. And there's the coach, Graham West, along with his first lieutenant, Sean Edwards. A great team on and off the field.
Sure is. Graham West there, another modest man in this